welcome to the Warped Wool World podcast number 2. I'm Sophia and I'm coming to you from New York City. First of all, I want to say thank you to everybody who watched the last video and everybody who's watching this right now, and anybody who commented and shared a bit of themselves or liked the video or anything. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys for wanting to watch this. I didn't think anybody would, and part of me kind of hoped that nobody would watch because I was pretty self-conscious. So yeah, it was really nice to hear from you and feel like there was kind of a conversation. So yeah, thank you guys. I've got a less squeaky chair this time, but there's still a lot of background noise because I don't have air conditioning and it's really hot, which is why I'm not wearing any knitwear. So I have to keep the window open, so I'm sorry. And I'll start with what I'm wearing. This is not knitwear, but it's a dress that I made and embroidered. I didn't have a pattern. I was kind of inspired by 19th century shifts, just sort of a square for the sleeves, a square for the body, gores, and then embroidery. I made it from cotton lawn that I bought at Cloth House in Camden in London, which is, I think, the best fabric store in the world. It's so great. They have mostly just natural fibers and everything's really, really high quality. You can trust anything you buy there, and they just have really beautiful patterns. So if you ever find yourself in London, you should go. I think it's by appointment, but you don't have to buy anything if you make an appointment. You can just browse and look at everything. They also have a really good website, and they photograph the fabrics well, so you can just see how beautiful everything is. They sell a silk velvet that's really expensive, but it's just so gorgeous. It's like, you know, I can't really articulate how nice it is, but you should go look at their website. And I think I made this around December of 2020. This portion is smocking, which I was sort of learning how to make. It's a technique where you create gathers by making a series of horizontal running stitches just right on top of each other, and then you embroider on top of the gathers and pull out the running stitches. And by doing that, you create sort of a semi-elastic texture that's also decorative, and it's what was used before elastic existed in the 20th century. So I think the technique comes from 13th or 14th century England, and it was used very regularly up until the 19th century, and now there are machines that do it and people still use it decoratively. But a lot of, you know, undershirts and shifts and dresses would have smocking that kind of showed decoratively on the collared sleeves, and maybe I can put a couple pictures here since apparently I've figured out how to do that. And it was also used for like farmers' outerwear, which is where, you know, the farmer's smock comes from. The cloth would be waxed or oiled and it would be kind of dirt proof. But yeah. And I was kind of also inspired by Tudor blackwork embroidery, which is usually much more innate than this, but it's basically black thread on a white background. So yeah, that's kind of where this came from. And on that note, the Metropolitan Museum in New York is opening a Tudor exhibition next month, so I'm definitely going to be there. Yeah, and on to knitwear. I'll start with my one finished object, which I wanted to be wearing, but it's really hot, and it's mohair. So this is the Fabel Knitwear Poet Ruffle blouse, which I showed you last time. It's knit in stranded mohair, fingering weight or 4-ply from Whistlebare Farms, which is in Northumberland on the border of England and Scotland, and Alice, who runs the farm with her family, has a herd of Angora goats, which are the goats that produce mohair, and she also has sheep. And I helped her shear the goats, and I got a sweater's quantity of yarn in exchange, with which I made this sweater, and it's been in the works since like March. So I'm so glad. I'm gonna put it on even though it's hot, because I can't wait to wear this. This was really hard to block because the mohair is very, very springy. And the pattern with these flounces, this pirate cuff, tends to curl. Blocking is, after you knit something, you wash it and then you lay it flat to dry or pin it flat. And then basically you get all the tension issues out, and you can flatten any curling or anything like that. And normally I'm too impatient to block things the way you're supposed to, so I iron them, which I don't know if you're supposed to do, but it really helps. And that didn't even work. So I actually had to weigh this down with a bunch of really big, heavy hardcover books in order to get as much of the curl as I could out of the collar and sleeves. But I love this pattern. I think Helena, who's the designer, is just really, really talented and great. I'm probably going to be knitting something by her in every episode of this podcast, because I can't get enough of everything she makes. So yeah, I'm excited for it to snow in like 4 months so I can wear this in the snow and go ice skating, or I don't know, get hot chocolate somewhere pretty. Yeah, I don't know, I feel like this sweater deserves a good outing, and I'm really pleased because sometimes stuff that like this doesn't come out right, and I've had that happen before, and then it's a shame if you've spent hours and hours knitting something. So I'm really glad that it came out well. Yeah, that's my finished object. The Fabel Knitwear Poet Ruffle blouse, knit in stranded mohair from Whistlebare Farms, 4-ply. Yeah, and then I'll show you what I'm knitting right now. Number 1 is the Garia Sock from 52 Weeks of Socks. I don't love these now that I've made them, but they were kind of a project while I was waiting for other yarn to come. But they do have these nice tops, which are what attracted me in the first place. To me, these look like ogives, like the pointy arches in Gothic cathedrals, or ribbing or something, like vaulting. And I thought that was really pretty, and so I made them, and I made them quite tall, so they'll just kind of peek out the tops of boots in the winter, because I like that look. And I knit them in Hedgehog Fibres sock yarn in the color butter, because I like butter and I like yellow. So yeah, these are knit toe up, which I think is great, and I'd never seen that in a sock pattern before, but I've always wished for it because I like tall socks, and so I want to be able to knit until I've used half the ball and then start the other one so they're as tall as I can get them. So I learned a new cast on to do this. This is the second sock. I'm mostly done. You knit them inside out so that you're not purling the whole time, which is great too. And you just work your way up, and then the pattern is really short at the top. So these are pretty mindless until the end. I found the pattern instructions were a little wrong, or the row started in the wrong place. It really threw me off. Maybe I just didn't understand them well. I really struggled. I had to ask someone for help, and she and I had to figure it out. But it's pretty in the end. I'm almost done. I understand the instructions now. So these were the Garia Sock from 52 Weeks of Socks in Hedgehog Fibres sock yarn butter. and they still need to be blocked. I don't have sock blockers, but I think I have some extra coat hangers and pliers, so I'm gonna try and make some out of those. We'll see. Check back in to see if that works out for me. So that's that. And then I'm still knitting the academia dress, also by Fabel Knitwear. I'm test knitting this, and I spoke about it last time. I'm not sure if I've actually made any progress at all because I ran out of yarn right after pretty much I recorded last time, and I had to order more. I'm knitting this in Hillesvåg Sølje in the color Marineblå, and thank you to the Danish viewer who watched the first podcast and validated my pronunciation, kind of. I'm really glad I didn't butcher it, because I think Norwegian's a very beautiful language. I don't want to mess it up, so thank you for commenting on that. But yeah, the academia dress, this is probably going to come out towards the end of the year, I'm guessing, because the test knit is due in October, but it's so excellent. It's got these cool evil villain puff shoulders that I can't wait to wear everywhere. And it's gonna be like a mid-length dress with a slit, and it's pretty fitted and got a tall collar, and it has just really, really great shaping on the shoulders and around the sleeves. So it was really fun to make, and I learned a lot about sweater construction, so more from Fabel Knitwear. And because I'm knitting it in 2 strands of yarn, because I figured since it's a test knit I had to make gauge, and with 1 stitch I didn't make gauge, I had to order more because I didn't buy enough to knit with 2 strands, and I had to order it from Canada because I couldn't find a supplier in the US. I'd bought the original yarn when I was still living in the UK at a shop called Knit with Attitude in North London. And in order to get this yarn from Canada, I was going to have to pay like $15 in shipping, which is more than a single skein cost. So I ordered more yarn to qualify for free shipping, and I'll show you in a while. I have one more work in progress to show you first. I have literally just started the I think it's called the Augusta lace scarf by Quasigerade, which I think just came out, but I've been seeing pictures of it for a long time, I think from the test knits. And the pattern, which is really well made and has a lot of content in it for such a tiny knit, has 3 different varieties. So there's a big scarf, a little scarf, and a headband version. And I'm knitting the headband version, which starts with an I-cord that, you know, is on either end that you can tie, and then it's got a lace headband. So I'm looking forward to that. This is, I think, going to go quite quickly. And this yarn, unfortunately, I don't know what it is. I bought it 4 years ago, I think, when I was still in college, from a place in New York called Downtown Yarns on the Lower East Side. That's still in business, so you can go. But they don't really have a website, because I tried to see if they might still stock this. This is a really, really fine lace weight yarn. I don't know if there's much to see. It's white or natural, which is, I knit with a lot of white yarn. And it's very, very soft, so much so that I think there must be a little bit of like alpaca from the feeling in here. I don't think cashmere, because there's a little, I don't know. It's very soft, and it's lace weight. And I bought this originally to try and make like a lace top for myself, just based on like a Vogue knitting lace pattern, but with no pattern for a top. I didn't know what I was doing. It took me a really long time, and I just kind of left it. I tried to find it before recording so I could show you, but I don't know where it is. But if I find it, maybe I can pick it up again. Yeah, that's gonna be the Augusta lace scarf by Quasigerade. And I think that's everything that I'm currently knitting. Ooh, I made a swatch for one other thing. I was recently in Red Bank, New Jersey for some family business on my day off from work, and they have a yarn store now that's new. It's a very like up and coming town, and they had a sale on Sandnes Garn Alpakka, Mini Alpakka, so I got some in the colorway 6531. It's like a very dusty light blue. And I got 5 50-gram skeins of this, which I'm hoping is enough to make the Ballerina Wrap top, it's called. It's a free pattern by Two of Wands that Handmade by Florence, her podcast, she wears it with long sleeves in actually a really similar color, but this was my favorite of the colors they had. So this is my little swatch on 3mm needles, and I think the fabric's good. It's dense enough to wear as a top, but it's lightweight because I think I need some sort of intermediate weather knits now that I'm in New York, where I don't know, the seasons are more extreme, but there's a long time in the fall where it's kind of like not quite sweater weather. You'd be chilly in just a shirt, but especially like on a subway platform, which tends to be really hot, or when you're moving around, it's too hot for a sweater, whereas in the UK there's like a perpetual chill in your bones that keeps you wearing sweaters. That I like it. So I'm gonna try and make this as like an intermediate weather top, and I think I might add some lace or something, because I don't really like just stockinette, and I like, if you couldn't tell, I like lace knitting. I find just kind of stockinetting around, like I get sort of impatient with myself and I need to go faster, and that's not really the mentality that we're looking for from knitting. So we'll see. Hopefully this will turn into something. Yeah, and that kind of leads me into acquisitions, if you're interested in seeing those. I have got some new yarn. Like I said, when I bought the Hillesvåg for the academia dress, I figured I'd rather spend a bit more and qualify for free shipping than pay the shipping, which is how they get you, I guess. But what they had in stock was Rauma Finull. Again, my pronunciation, but the Knitting Traditions podcast, which I watch, and I guess a lot of everybody watches, Inga, she really likes Rauma Finull, and I really like all the Norwegian wool I've tried, and I like wool that's kind of got a different texture and is like has a lot of friction, and I don't know, it's just interesting to me to try. A lot of the wools that I've seen since coming back to New York are the same bases, but hand dyed in really interesting, beautiful colorways. Maybe I'm not looking in the right places, but I really liked getting to try this, which it comes from a different type of sheep than I know, and it's just like a new feeling to knit with. And I got 3 colors and more skeins than this, but you're on the box that has the skeins in it right now, because this is all still very haphazard and thrown together, so I can't show you all of them. But I got this red and this green. The white is colorway 0400, the red is colorway 4120, and the green is colorway 4122. And I just really like deep jewel tones, and I thought I could make a color work sweater, or a sweater with a color work yoke with like roses and ivy, or poppies maybe with the red. some kind of like red flower and green leafy plant. I thought that might be a really pretty sweater, and if I get it done in time for Christmas, it's kind of an excuse for those colors, but I like them any time of year. I don't know. I would like it to always be the holidays, so move to Christmas town. So I got these, and I'm really, really, really excited to try them. They're just so, like, such beautiful, deep, rich colors, and I feel like colors are the hardest thing to gauge when you're ordering yarn. So I'm glad I have them. They're from the Knitting Loft in Toronto, because I didn't find any shops in the United States that had Hillesvåg yarn, or at least not in my part. And Toronto is pretty close geographically to New York. I mean, it's just it's like right on the top of the state, right over the border into Canada. So I'm so excited. And I've actually never made a sweater with a color work yoke before. I've just seen a lot of them, but I couldn't find a pattern that fit what I was looking for, so I'm gonna make it up, which might not be wise, but we'll see how this goes. The nice thing about knitting is you can always pull it back out, so unless you're using silk mohair. But yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, and I guess I have one more acquisition. I've told you that I work at a yarn shop. I work at Argyle Yarn Shop in Brooklyn, which is really, really lovely, and I'll put a little video that I surreptitiously took of the shop at the end in case anyone would like to see it, because it's worth a visit. They have their own line of yarns called Luminous Brooklyn that they dye in the store, and so sometimes I get to help a little with that. But they have really like poppy, bright colors, so if you're into that, you should check them out. They've got a website, online orders and everything. And yeah, although they're I mean, like I was saying, kind of the same bases you normally see, but just like really different, interesting colorways. Good for fades or details or any kind of bright variable coloring. But with my employee discount, I got this yarn, which was on sale as well. It's Garia Yarns, which is an upstate New York company, although the wool is Peruvian. 100% superfine merino, and it's non-superwash. It's not plied. It's a single strand, and it's 227 grams, so it's really big, and it's soft and plushy, and it's black. And I've been looking for a large quantity of affordable black yarn that's pretty soft for a long time, because I've been wanting to knit a dress or a skirt. So design TBD. I'll probably make something up. Maybe not. Maybe I'll pick a sweater and just add a skirt. Or maybe I'll knit, well, I have a lot of ideas. That's not now. But this I got, and I can't wait to knit with it. I got 2 of these actually, but the other one's over there, and I'm over here. So I'm just gonna show you the one. Yeah, and somebody asked to see the book stand that I have, so I thought I'd show it to you briefly if you want. It's not knitting, but it is craft. It was made by one of my dearest friends who's a blacksmith in the UK named James. His Instagram handle is split silver steel, all one word. And this was like a prototype bookcase that he made by hand. It has this engraving on the bottom that he did. This is how it looks closed. So it folds up. It's about the size of a biggish book. It's made of steel, so it's like got a little heft to it, but it's not really heavy. It has enough weight that it can take a really big textbook or something. And yeah, it opens like this. This is the back. and it has these prongs that I'm not doing it very effectively. He'd be upset with me. They basically, you open both of these and they hold up the book. They sit at different heights, or they hold up the book stand at like, you know, this kind of an angle. So, and they sit pretty well on like a bed, like upholstery, or on a table or anything. And then it has let me just fiddle a little bit. It has these clamps at the bottom for the book, and you can just pull them through, and again they fasten. You can screw them shut with your hands to sit wherever you need them to sit. And they've got these pretty handmade ball bearings at the top. And these ball bearings in this little flower. Well, the ball bearings aren't handmade, but the clamp for them is. And because they're round and they move, they won't damage your book. So you can hold it pretty tightly and it'll still be okay. So I'm gonna show you with a book, and I'm gonna show you the book too, actually, because it's related and I got it recently. The Fleece and Fiber Sourcebook by Deborah, Robson, and Ekarius. It just has all of these sheep breeds from all around the world, and their fleece and their characteristics and like what group they're in. And I'm really excited to read this because I don't know, the different sheep breeds are really interesting to me. I'm hoping I can go to the New York Sheep and Wool Festival this October, next month, in Rhinebeck, New York. If I can get off work, then I will. I went once in college with a class on Andean, like pre-Columbian, not just Andean textiles, and it was so cool. It's not just a knitting festival, it's like about, there's livestock and there are alpacas you can pet, and there are people spinning and carding, and you can buy wool at pretty much any stage in the process. But yeah, here's how the book stand holds a book. It holds big ones, it holds small ones, it holds in between ones. It's pretty great. So check out his Instagram, Split Silver Steel. He's got a picture of it, and he posts his poetry too, which is very good poetry, I think. So yeah. And I actually have another book too. The Field Guide to Fleece by the same authors. It's like a pocket version of the same thing by Brie, and then it just kind of has the brief characteristics of each fleece. You know, so if you run into a North Ronaldsy sheep walking down Broadway, you can be like, oh, I know what your fiber quality is. I don't know how useful this will be in my life, but I really like knowing it, and it's a handy dandy little book. So when I buy yarn like this, it's kind of traceable back to the type of sheep it came from, I can find out a little more about it. And speaking of tracing back to fleece, if anybody knows anything about US wools, or US sheep producers, I'd love to hear about it. People who sell, not sheep producers, what am I saying, like wool producers, people like small farmers who sell their yarn. I would love to hear about it. I think I've pretty much shown you everything I have, so I'm just gonna sit and knit with you guys for a little bit. You can keep me company while I turn this little I-cord nubbin into something of greater significance. But yeah, I think I just don't really know what is on offer in the US in terms of small farms and yarn. In the UK there were a lot of places like Garthenor is one company in Wales that, you know, has their own sheep and processes their own yarn. There's like Jameson, like the Shetland companies. even though a lot of yarn in the UK is actually wasted because most sheep are raised for meat, and most people don't want itchy wool from northern sheep breeds. Like most commercial clothing producers want, you know, merino and things like that. And so the UK sheep often, like, they have to have their wool auctioned off. There's a big wool auction, and often it costs more to shear them apparently than they can get from the wool, so it just gets disposed of. Or sometimes it can be used for insulation or something, I think. But yeah, that's kind of sad. But my point being, before I digressed, that I haven't really found a lot of small yarn producers here, and I guess I just don't really know about them, probably. I've seen some, like, out west, like in Montana, but Montana is about as far geographically from New York as Iceland is, I think. So, I don't know, it still doesn't feel very local. So I'd really like to know more about it if anybody knows anything. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep buying Norwegian wool. But yeah, there's more to discover. Maybe these books that I just showed you will have some information about it that I don't know. But that's kind of just what I've been making. I haven't gotten a chance to work on any of the embroidery I showed you last week, or rather, I guess I could have gotten a chance, but I did other stuff instead, and I was working, so that takes up a bit of your time. But yeah, and I really like the yarn shop where I'm working. They're good employers and they're sweet. So I recommend going by there. I think there's a New York yarn crawl coming up. That's a bit of an event where people go to all the yarn shops and there's scavenger hunts and things. So I'll probably be working, but that's something to do if you have the time. I'm just kind of sitting waiting for the weather to change. But yeah, I guess then the days will get shorter and it'll be harder to record as well, although the sun sets kind of early here. I mean, it's setting at 7. I guess I'm used to living at a latitude where it sets later, but I like the really long days in summer and short days in winter. There's something about it that feels kind of, I don't know, I like the drama of it, I guess. I like how noticeable the change in seasons is. I like how surprising it feels to have, I don't know, sun at 10 p.m. or no sun at 4 p.m. It's, I don't know, it just makes life that little bit more exciting, I suppose. I don't know, maybe that's silly, but yeah. Don't know, so I hope you're knitting something that you like. I hope that where you live you can actually wear your knitwear and it doesn't have to just kind of sit there taunting you while you wish that it would get colder, and maybe I'm just a Grinch, reverse Grinch, and everyone's really glad it's summer and doesn't want it to go away. But maybe you live somewhere that's not as hot as New York, and maybe you live somewhere hotter, I don't know. But yeah, so really thank you again, everybody who was interested and is interested in these videos. I get really excited about all this stuff. I don't really have a lot of people to share it with in my personal life. I mean, I just taught my best friend how to knit, but he's you know, still working on it. He's pretty good. He's doing very well for a beginner, but he doesn't share my passion quite yet. We'll get him there, but he's not there yet. So yeah, thank you for being here with me and being interested in what I have to say, and I'm really interested in what you have to say, and I think it's so cool to look at the comments and get to talk to each other and engage with each other from so far away. So yeah, I hope you keep watching, and I'll keep uploading because I don't know, even if only one person wants to watch these videos, I'm glad I get to share them with somebody. So, yeah, that's about it, I think. I'll put all of the yarns and things that I talked about in the description box down below. You can follow me on Instagram if you want at Warped Wool World, although I'm not that active. I'm not very good at social media and stuff. But you can if you want. Otherwise, I'll see you back here in just a couple of weeks. So thank you guys for your time, and have a really, really wonderful day wherever and whenever you are. And happy knitting. Bye.